Picture this. You pull into your brand new driveway after closing on what you think is your slice of the American dream, and your car is already gone. Vanished. Replaced by an oil stain and a bright yellow notice flapping in the breeze like a middle finger from suburbia. Vehicle towed per HOA Regulation 4.2.1. That's how my personal hell in Oak Ridge Haven started. And the woman responsible? Victoria Langford, the self-appointed queen of clipboards and community standards, who would later call me a nobody who didn't belong. She had no idea that in 60 days, I'd be sworn in as the state's new attorney general. Every receipt, every email, every backroom vote she cast was about to become public record. This is the story of how I lost everything until their victory signed their own death warrant. The tow yard reeked of diesel and broken dreams. I stood at the counter sliding my license to a bored attendant while fluorescent lights buzzed like angry hornets above us. $535 later, my car was mine again. The drive back took 12 minutes. 12 minutes of me replaying the moment I stepped outside that Sunday morning to an empty spot where my Honda used to be. I'd only lived in Oak Ridge Haven for 3 weeks. Boxes still stacked in the living room. Curtains half hung. And already the neighborhood watchdogs had struck. As I pulled into the driveway, there she was. Victoria Langford. Mid-50s, blonde bob sharp enough to cut glass, tailored blazer on a Sunday like she was attending a board meeting with God himself. Clipboard in hand, of course. She marched toward me with that purposeful stride of someone who gets off on other people's inconvenience. Elena Vargas, she said, not really asking. I'm Victoria Langford, president of the Oak Ridge Haven Homeowners Association. I wanted to personally welcome you and make sure you understand why your vehicle was removed. I explained I hadn't received any notice, that I just moved in. Mail forwarding issues. County records lag. She gave me that smile. You know the one. The bless your heart smile teachers give when you're lying about the dog eating your homework. The notice was sent to the address of record, dear. County Assessor's Office. If there's a delay, that's not our concern. Rules are rules. They keep property values up for everyone. She flipped through her papers and showed me a letter dated weeks before I even owned the house, addressed to my old apartment. The 14-day compliance window? It had expired before I had the keys. I bit my tongue so hard I tasted blood. So you're saying you towed me for a violation that happened before I lived here? Victoria's eyes sparkled with the joy of bureaucratic victory. The bylaws are very clear, Ms. Vargas. We apply them equally. If you have concerns, there's a form on the website. Response time is 4 to 6 weeks. Have a blessed day. She walked away, clipboard tucked like a weapon. I stood there watching her perfect lawn, perfect posture, perfect little kingdom. Inside, I poured a glass of wine and opened the 68-page CC and RS binder from closing. Overnight parking bans. Trash, invisibility police. Grass height maximum of 3 inches measured, I kid you not, with approved tools. Mailbox color from an approved palette of subtle earth tones. Holiday lights limited to warm white only, no more than 30 days. Every inch of life regulated by people with too much time and not enough therapy. The leadership page made me pause. Victoria Langford, president. Richard Langford, treasurer. Their last name shared. Nice. The attorney listed? Stephen Langford of Langford Legal Services. Even nicer. That night, I filed the tow receipt away. Something told me I'd need it later. 60 days. I just had to survive 60 days without making waves. 2 weeks of perfect compliance followed. Car in garage every night. Trash bins hidden by 6:01 p.m. Then one night, I came home at 7:15 after a brutal transition meeting at the Capitol building. Forgot the trash bin. The $250 fine arrived 4 days later with a photo timestamped 6:47 p.m. and a note about pattern of noncompliance, citing the towing as strike 1. I requested the first-time resident waiver per their own rules. Victoria emailed back personally. Unfortunately, your prior enforcement action disqualifies you. We encourage compliance from day 1 in Oak Ridge Haven. The sarcasm in my head was screaming. Day 1, before I owned the house. I appealed anyway. The form required 2 neighbor character witnesses. I'd met exactly 0 people well enough to ask. Appeal denied for incomplete submission. Signed by Richard Langford himself, the guy whose bank account my fine money would hit. I paid. Scanned everything. Started a folder called Oak Ridge Evidence. The next month brought fresh hell. My lawn was cited for being 3.4 inches in one spot, $175. The previous owner's garage door color had been quietly removed from the approved list with no notice to existing owners. $350 plus repaint order. Total fines now over $2,000. I requested a full board hearing per bylaws. They scheduled it the same night as the community wine and cheese social. Clever. The room had 3 of them behind a folding table. Victoria center stage, Richard left, a mousy secretary named Linda on the right. No other residents showed. Surprise. I presented my timeline calmly for 15 minutes. Notification failures. Conflicts of interest. Lack of grace period for new owners. When I finished, Victoria smiled that patient smile. MS. Vargas, this isn't personal. We have standards. If you can't follow simple rules, perhaps Oak Ridge Haven isn't the right fit. The vote was unanimous against me in under 45 seconds. The neighborhood Facebook group exploded with anonymous posts. New lady on Maple trying to fight the board. Some people think rules don't apply to them. My lawn was apparently a disgrace. I was the villain without ever saying a word in my defense. Then the vandalism started. Troublemaker written in the dust on my car windshield. I wiped it off without a word. But I photographed it. Socially, I became a ghost. Neighbors crossed the street. Block party flyers never made it to my door. I ordered groceries online and became invisible. That's when the lawsuit arrived. Langford Legal Services suing for $6,200 in fines plus legal fees, asking for a lien on my house. I hired an outside attorney. We went to court. Their lawyer, Stephen Langford, Victoria's brother, was smooth. She signed the documents. She knew the rules. My lawyer pointed out the family connections, the lack of competitive bidding for the towing company run by Victoria's brother-in-law. The judge didn't care. The bylaws were followed. Judgment for the HOA. Lien threat active. I paid on the last day. Lost completely. Or so it seemed. The court file became public. Every contract, every minute, every payment. That's when Walter Klein got involved. Retired IRS auditor living 6 houses down. The newspaper article about my case caught his eye. He requested the full file. What he found was gold. Towing company owned by Victoria's sister-in-law charging 45% above market. Reserve fund managed by husband Richard with no oversight. Legal bills to brother Stephen topping $52,000 in 3 years. Campaign donations from the law firm to Victoria's past political run. Walter filed an ethics complaint. Victoria retaliated with a new frivolous complaint, bylaw fining him $500. I was sworn in 3 days later. I recused myself completely. Didn't touch it. Didn't need to. The press connected the dots once my name hit the papers as the new Attorney General. New AG's HOA battle reveals family-run grift in Oak Ridge Haven. The Ethics Commission suddenly fast-tracked Walter's complaint. Bank records were subpoenaed. The web unraveled fast. For weeks later, the findings dropped. Multiple violations of state ethics laws. Conflicts of interest proven. The entire board ordered dissolved. Victoria banned from any fiduciary role for 10 years. Fines refunded to all victims, including me, with interest. The towing contract voided. Stephen referred to the bar. Richard facing potential misappropriation charges, handled by my office, but I stayed far away. Victoria's house went on the market by fall. I saw her once loading boxes, looking 10 years older. No clipboard this time. Walter kept his house. We nod at each other now when our paths cross. No words needed. The neighborhood slowly breathed again as new board elections brought normal people. Oak Ridge Haven still has rules. But the reign of terror ended because one woman stayed silent, documented everything, and waited for the system she was about to run to do what systems eventually do when sunlight hits them: expose the rot. And here's the question I want you to answer in the comments. When the HOA Karen uses community standards as a weapon for personal power and profit, is she really just enforcing the rules everyone agreed to? Or is the whole system designed to let little dictators thrive until someone with real power finally turns on the lights? Would you have stayed silent like I did? Or would you have gone nuclear earlier? Drop your thoughts below. The most savage takes get pinned.